Hey guys, Mike here. So today's cult classic review is 1997's Starship Troopers, starring Casper Van Dien as Johnny Rico. In Starship Troopers, humans in a fascist, militaristic future wage war against giant alien bugs. And so we have Starship Troopers. So guys, this is a movie in the series before watching and reviewing it today. I had actually seen it before, though I can't remember exactly when I watched this one. It was pretty much like 10 plus years ago, and I haven't watched it since the first time I did see this film. I remember the odd bits and bobs, but for the most part, I was pretty much watching this again for the first time. So, what did I think of Starship Troopers? One of the first things about Starship Troopers is that you can't take this movie 100% on face value. Because upon first glance, this movie seems to really want to promote a positive side of fascism, which is obviously a big no-no. It presents this world where everything of significance has to be earned. The right to vote, the right to reproduce, the right to get into politics, the right to even, write. And while not everyone may agree with this world that the movie creates, it is something that is somewhat interestingly explored within the narrative. It doesn't really focus so much on the way this world's affected by its fascist regime. It's more kind of how the characters navigate the world itself. Because this is seen in the shower room where they all discuss why they actually joined up. One of them says, I want to have babies. One of them says, I want to get into politics. The other one says, I want to be a writer. Just things like that. And pretty much the quickest way to earn your citizenship so you can do all these things is to join up in the military. And it just goes to show that a lot of these soldiers probably don't believe in the cause they're actually fighting for, or really even agree with it. It's more about achieving their own goals at the end of the day. Because some of them probably join up thinking, you know what, I might not even have to fight in a war, I might just have to be in reserves the whole time and then I'll earn my citizenship that way. So again, not exactly the best way of running a society. It is something that is interestingly explored. And something else interesting that Starship Troopers does, it actually puts men and women in the exact same positions as one another. They don't assign roles just for women. They don't say that they're supposed to be nurses or just be on the back lines or whatever. They put them all in the exact same positions. Doesn't matter what gender you are, what race you are, everyone is in the same boat. They all join up and they all start from the exact same spot. And it's something as well that the movie doesn't even really address. It's just there. They don't really have a scene where they say like, I remember the days when women weren't in the front lines or something like that. It's just something that is in this world. And honestly, I think that's the best way of doing these kind of situations. You don't have to draw attention to them, just make it a part of the status quo. And another amazing thing about Starship Troopers is the visual effects have definitely held up. This movie's just about 23 years old and the visual effects still look amazing to this day. Everything from the lasers, the ships, the aliens, everything just looks incredible. And another thing that really helps these visual effects look as great as they are is the fact that you can actually see everything that's going on. Because the fight choreography, gunplay is all done brilliantly. You can see everything that's going on. It's super engaging. At times it puts you right in the middle of the action. And it just makes for an incredibly entertaining sci-fi action movie. And as well, with Starship Troopers, it really does put on the forefront this idea that one side doesn't see their enemy as people, they just see them as the enemy. And the way that Starship Troopers puts that across is by making the enemy basically just straight up monsters, unable to communicate and are just out for blood. Thus making it easier for the soldiers and definitely the audience to be against this enemy. Because it's unclear who started this confrontation before the movie actually started, but in the film, it's very clear that the aliens attacked first. And because of this, everyone rises up together to fight the aliens on their homeworld. And again, it just shows the arrogance of humanity. The fact that they thought they could just rush in and just exterminate the bugs on day one. It just shows that they really underestimated their enemy. And throughout the whole film, they constantly do it. They pretty much underestimate them to the point that hundreds of thousands of soldiers die, and the lead commander of the whole entire operation has to resign. That's how bad they messed up. But honestly, you don't have to be an absolute military strategist genius to realise that running in with all your soldiers all at once is a bad idea, no matter who your enemy is. But still, it made for an amazing action set piece. And I just love the relationship between all of these characters. Though they're not exactly the most three-dimensional of characters, they are light-hearted, they all have a bit of charisma to them, and they do seem quite engaging. Though pretty much everyone does have that whole American oorah feel to them. Pretty much just squish the bugs, win the day. And it's just one of those things that gets your blood pumping and makes you want them to win. Though, one thing that kind of bugs me about this film, see what I did there, is the durability of the aliens. It's just so inconsistent. Like, at the start of the film, it takes about 6 people to bring down one bug. Later on, it only takes about 2 of them hitting them in the right spots. Then later on, about 3 people mow down an entire army of these things. And it kind of gives an internal balance to the sense of danger in this film. Because honestly, if they kept it at the start, when the aliens were super durable and you had to actually outwit them to win. That would have been brilliant. Though Starship Troopers isn't so concerned with their characters seeming witty or intellectual with their tactics. It's more about blow up the aliens, set them on fire, just absolutely destroy them. And while the bug's durability isn't something that ruins the movie, it's just something, like I said, that gives a bit of an internal balance in the sense of thrill or danger. Nonetheless, still love these aliens, great design, they're really intimidating, they just really make this film. So guys, would I consider Starship Troopers a personal cult classic, and would I recommend that you guys should see it? It's very easy to see why Starship Troopers has become an absolute cult classic. The characters are fun, the visuals still look amazing, the action is impeccable, and while it's not on the forefront, it does ask some interesting questions about how a society that is pretty much a militaristic fascist society would function. And it's very clear to see why so many people call this one a cult classic, and this is one that I would definitely consider a personal cult classic. I loved this movie the first time I watched it. I can't remember how old I was I watched it, but I remember just being really engaged by it and thinking that it was absolutely awesome. And watching it years later, it still has that exact same feel. Though it's not the smartest movie around, or the aliens might not be the most original, or the characters may not be the best written, it's still an amazingly engaging, entertaining sci-fi action blockbuster. One that I think that even 10 years from now will still look as amazing as it does today. And as for whether or not you guys should see it, I think it's pretty obvious that I'm recommending you should check this one out. Though I do have to say this, you can't take this movie on face value, because if you did, it kind of does put across a pretty terrible message about how we shouldn't treat our enemies with respect and how we shouldn't talk to them, how the fascist regime is the only one that makes sense. Yeah, you can't really listen to any of that. You have to just kind of realise that though this movie isn't a full-blown comedy, it is a bit of a satire on that fascist ideology. Or at least, that's how I see it anyway. So do yourselves a favour, watch Starship Troopers for the amazing action, the entertaining characters, and just, you know what, have a lot of fun with this one, because this is a fun movie at the end of the day. Okay guys, that's my cult classic review of Starship Troopers. Do you love it? Do you hate it? Whatever you think, drop it in the comments below. Until next time, I've been Michael. See ya!